Hello, thank you for joining us again on yet another episode of Issues, your topical current affairs program where we dissect issues in the society. Today, we shall be looking at the welfare and well being of senior citizens in the country. Yes, everyone desires longevity, but with it comes some challenges, which we shall be looking at on the program tonight. I am Abdullah Hajia. Welcome. Stakeholders and experts around the senior citizens issue have continued to clamor for the well-being of senior citizens in the country. Where are we today? We shall be looking at how efforts of non-governmental organizations and government as well have been able to help or otherwise on the program. Do stay. We shall be right back. Thank you for staying tuned. Now to the conversation proper. And I have with me in the studio Hawa Umar Jibrin, a barrister, and one person that has been at the forefront in promoting the welfare and well-being of senior citizens in Nigeria, particularly in the FCT, who will be joining us to talk more on the issues at stake, talking about senior citizens in the country. You're welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, well, I know most often from the onset of setting up a non-governmental organization, that is the Post-Old People's Home, it's been your passion, and you've driven this passion, over the years without looking back. Let's begin this conversation of looking into the senior citizens and our society. What's your take generally on what you've observed, what you've seen that informed the decision for you to set up the Post-Old People's Home?
Thank you. The Post-Old People's Home is a dream I conceived a very long time ago, and I was hoping I would have the opportunity to actualize this dream. Looking at aging as a painful and a lonely and a period where elderly people, particularly in our society, don't get what they deserve. I've seen around the world where aging is a bit comfortable and enjoyable. You want to age, you want to live long because as you're going along, you have provision for that period in your life. But within our society here, aging is a very painful period, particularly in this present situation in the 21st century. In those days, the community, you used to call it communal effort, used to help because we all lived very closely, neatly with ourselves. And the next door neighbor knows what the next door neighbor is doing. The next door neighbor has an eye on the next door neighbor. But with migration and civilization and urbanization, people have left that kind of life. They've all come into the city, everybody pursuing his or her livelihood, thereby giving that environment a very small population. And even those who are there, they all seem to be on the same page because they are no longer able to do what they can do. So most younger people, the stronger people, they are all in the cities. And therefore, the elderly people who are at home are left on their own to suffer. And we all know how our villages are. We don't have the facilities. We don't have hospitals. We don't have a healthcare system that can take care of most of the ailments that aged people, have. I therefore said, in this light, why not advocate and let's see whether stakeholders will key into this issue of elderly care, so that we can now begin to think of what do we do to our elderly people as they age, so that aging becomes more enjoyable. That was why I decided to begin in the FCT here to start on a small scale with the Post-Old People's Home getting elderly people together, observing them, taking care of them, and seeing the response of what the society can do for us and what we can do for them.
Okay, well, now, are we saying that our own society, in one way or the other, have neglected the welfare of the senior citizens?
Very well. That is exactly what I'm saying. Because if you look around, you don't see provision for senior citizens anywhere. The only place you see provision for senior citizens is in their homes for those who have people to take care of them. Any person outside the home, nobody cares about that person. He doesn't have anywhere to go to. There's no place called home for any elderly person that does not have family. We have not made provision to say, okay, in the process of aging, maybe if you have never had any child, or maybe your children are no longer there, you could go in there and get good care. Every person who is now being taken care of is by the family. So the society has not done anything for any elderly person. The government, that is what we are trying to do, to make sure government keys into the program of elderly people. The laws are there. The environment is there, but the structure is not there. And if the structure is not there, it's not going to happen. And for some of us who are doing it on the basis of NGO, we don't have that capacity to do for many elderly people. We can only take little at a time. And even then, we still need support, because elderly people have ailments that are quite expensive. The issue of diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis, and insomnia, some of the dementia. These are very expensive ailments that one person cannot cater for.
Okay, well, a vision like yours that you have you conceptualize and push through your, NGO, the old post old people's home. I think was one that was very noble even before the setting up of the National Citizen Center.
Yeah.
So, how have you been able to probably share ideas, partner together towards sharing ideas in terms of building a very strong, National Citizen Center that can cater for a number of senior citizens in the country?
I think we have a departure with the National Senior Citizen Center, because they are into more of policies. They are into more of academic. We are foot soldiers. We are on the ground. We see them. We go to them. We know what they want. We feel them. So in so doing, you find that we are actually with the elderly people. We are the ones who can feel, who can see, who can tell you, look, this elderly person, we've been taking care of him or her for some time, and this is the reaction, and this is the improvement about, and these are people that we give. We give them palliative from time to time. We give them drugs. We give them toiletries. We do this directly to the elderly people. But the National Senior Citizen Center is just once in a while they do so, and they are more into workshop. They are more into seminars, trying to create maybe awareness. Maybe they have this long time vision of what they want to do. It's not something they are doing right now. It's on paper, and they are hoping to actualize or to achieve it in the long run. But there are people that cannot wait for that kind of period, because some are aging right now, some have problems right now, some are sick, they need help right now. So there are some that need immediate solution to their problems. And that is where both of us are. The partnering is, maybe if you want to know how to take care of an elderly person, you want to be a caregiver, you could go learn. They have workshops, they have seminars where they teach you all these things. But those ones that are in the village, certainly they cannot wait. Even caregivers, they are people that you pay for. It's not free. You don't see anybody coming to you to say, please, I want to take care of you. If you are looking for a caregiver, that means you have money to pay the caregiver. And for some of them that don't even have anything at all they want is from time to time, you go to them, you see how they are faring, you give them the necessities of life. You give them food, you give them drugs, you give them toiletries, let them manage, and let their people too help them, because some are even with their own people, but their people too are poor. They are not working. Even if they are working, what they have is very little. We all know the issue of minimum wage here. We all know, particularly in the north, we now know the issue of banditry that does not even allow you to go and earn. So what they are earning is little for them to share with their wives, with their children, and other dependents. So they still need the support from government and from people like us who are running NGOs.
Okay, well, very key to this discussion for me is the issue of statistics. Do we actually even know the statistics of, say, how many senior citizens we have in the FCT or in the North Central or in the entirety of Nigeria? Because this will determine the kind of support probably we will be needing to bring to the table.
In fact, that has been a problem everywhere. Statistics in Nigeria is a very, very serious problem because right now, even the country does not know how many we are as citizens of this country. Not talk of, when you begin to categorize them into infants, children, middle age, elderly, the statistic is not clear. And this is why the Bureau of Statistics should wake up and do something about this. You will get the statistics, but you will not get the correct statistics because there are places that are not accessible. If you cannot move into places where elderly people are living, most people, even those who are educated, after they are retired, the life in the city becomes very expensive. So the only solution they have maybe to sell off their property in the city and move back to the state or to the villages. And that is why you have the concentration of a lot of elderly people. And naturally, you know what we call accessibility, roads, transportation. Some of these roads now are not accessible. Transport is minimal because we don't have the trains, we don't have the cars. Some vehicles stop at a particular place. They cannot access some other place because of bad roads. So we cannot really say this is how many elderly people we have. We can only estimate. Any figure you hear now is estimate, and the estimate will come from cities or towns around, not the real elderly people who live in the villages who require that care that we want to give the elderly people.
Okay, if I may ask you now, now using your NGO as a case study, how has it been in terms of the buy-in, in terms of the support we are requiring to say, okay, this is an aspect of life that we need to also support because we all dream of getting old someday. So how has the probable FCT administration or stakeholders in the FCT accepted what you've been doing?
Well, we will still say we are left on our own to continue to struggle to see that we do what we want to do out of passion, because it's passion that has brought me this far, not because I have anything to gain out of it. And we have done advocacy, we have gone around, we have been in the public eye for people to see these elderly people to have empathy, to begin to think of, okay, how do we even begin to say we want to help these people. I have stretched my hands of friendship to a lot of people. Very few are getting back and doing what they should do, because I think sometimes people keep saying you have no business taking care of any elderly person because they have their families. Of course they have I always tell people, of course we all have families, but if the families are not buoyant enough or they are not rich enough to help out, why can't we help out? If you help any elderly person, you are helping yourself, because you never can tell how it will turn out to be when you age. You can begin to think, I have everybody around me now because my brothers and sisters, my children are around. You can't tell if you will go before them or they will go before you. And in the event your children die before you, you still come back to this to the group of people we are talking about, the group of people that don't have anybody to cater for them. So we have also pleaded with the government, we have pleaded with stakeholders to come to our aid. I know it is not easy for anybody now to begin to say he's giving, but the giving is in the heart. It doesn't matter how much you have, no matter how little. You can also, when you give, you don't lack. They say give us, never lack. If you give, you don't lack. But people think now that it's so hard we can't even take care of ourselves, not even take care of any elderly person. Once you give, you never can tell the blessing that will come to you. Maybe it will come to you many folds, and you'll be glad you did. So we are still appealing that elderly people are around. Elderly people are suffering right now because you can see drugs have, because of the withdrawal of some companies from Nigeria back to their homeland or to other countries. Drugs have become more expensive, and particularly the drugs for the aged. So it's not easy for us to even get them drugs now. The doctors have migrated. We have people jabbering from one place to another. So to get doctors to even take care of them now is still a Herculean task. So the whole thing is becoming more complicated by the day. And we pray that something will be done so that elderly people in Nigeria will not just wallow and die in vain, because they need to live. They have lived and served, and they also need to be served at this point. If they are dying, they should be comfortable dying. They shouldn't die in poverty.
All right, Barrister, I know we have so much to talk about, but that will be on the second segment of our discussion because we need to go on a short break now. Well, you're still watching Issues on the Unity Station NT Channel 5 Abuja. I will be discussing issues of senior citizens or the elderly, if you want to call it. We'll go on a short break. When we return, the conversation continues. Do stay. Welcome back. I still have my guest with me in the studio to talk more on the issue on the program tonight. Welcome back, man.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we've looked at so many of the issues that you have talked about earlier. Now, let's narrow it down to some of the interventions that we take to these elderly persons, particularly here in the FCT. I know for years now you've been on it. How far so far in terms of medical intervention? Apart from that, what else do you do, using your organization?
Well, you're saying so far, how far so far? Well, so far, so good. We will not say it's not good because until you try, you will not know how good it is. We started 2018. While we were doing it, we have discovered a lot of people have showed interest, and I can assure you it's because of the advocacy and the outreach that a lot of people now will tell you they are doing something about the elderly, either NGO or maybe they have keyed into one thing or the other about the elderly people. And we are glad that to bring awareness to the public is a plus to us, because everybody was silent about the elderly until we started making noise about the elderly. And I'm proud to say I was the initial person who started it in FCT. And since we started, we have seen people who have said they want to partner with us. Most of them are like NGO like us, like the Medical Women Association. We have the NAWAJ, the women aspect of the journalism. We also have doctors who come around, and sometimes they want to be part of the outreach. We do medical outreach for them. And we do exercises like taking them out. All this, they are no small, we don't just do it from, what do I say, from any budget. We try as much as we can to stay within our budget, because there is no intervention from any organization or agency, I would say, to help out in what we are doing. Because you see, the elderly people need wheelchair. They need a pole, what they sit on to soon, maybe at the time when they can no longer hold their boy. They need pampers, they need crutches, they need a lot of things to support them while they are aging. And these things we provide for them from our own resources. And we expect that anybody who wishes to help the elderly people can reach out and say, look, I'm donating this for elderly people who require them. We also have a structure because we have an office. If you wish to come and visit and talk about the elderly and tell us what you want to do about the elderly, we are open to such discussion. And we are also open to people who will come and tell us they want to talk to the elderly. Because normally we have doctors who will speak in the language they will understand. Sometimes it's not about even giving them drugs. There are things you tell them to do, that will help them in aging. It's not just about taking drugs, eating. Even the food they eat, you need to tell them what kind of food they will eat at that age to make them stay healthy. Because sometimes it's what they eat that gives them problem. And it's a lifestyle they live that also contributes to their problem. Because some sit down a lot, some have nowhere to go to, they don't do any form of exercises, and they eat too much carbohydrate because nobody gives them a vegetable, fruits, and so on and so forth. And it's because they can't afford, because these are not things we give out as charity, because there ought to be a place where you can say, look, today you come and collect fruits and vegetable I'm giving out as charity to the elderly, so that it will help them. I remember during COVID-19, it was a time where a lot of elderly people had to die because there was nothing being given to them. Whatever people ate, that was what they ate. The hospitals were not available. Nobody was available to take care of them. The ambulances were not there. The caregivers were not there. But other climes, we saw that the elderly people, had it well, had it good, because they will keep what they require somewhere for them, and they will go and pick it up. And they were living good life even with COVID-19. But here in our own society, a lot of elderly people died. And now we are saying that with this economic hardship, we are still experiencing that kind of a thing, because a lot of people can no longer afford drugs. Some of us that do this NGO, we are finding difficult to meet up with the demand. And we are pleading that if you have drugs, particularly routine drugs for elderly people, and you wish to donate, we are available, because we are using our resources and everybody knows what it is right now. And most of these things, they are imported, so their money is not just, it's not peanuts. We need a lot of money to do all this. And then so far we have talked and we have gone on advocacy, we've appeared on TV just like we're appearing today, hoping that something will be done. My vision is to get a home for them. And I've also applied for land that will be secured, because now with insecurity, I can't afford to leave the city and go down into the forest to go and build anywhere for elderly people that will not be secured. So these are some of the things we want government to look at, to see that they need. We are not saying everybody should bring their elderly people to the home. We are talking of those in the event something goes wrong. Either you don't have a child, or your children are dead, or your people are no longer there, or you have come from somewhere you cannot even locate where anybody is, you don't have relatives, then we have somewhere to keep you safe.
Okay, well, by way of parting shots, I know if we try to draw comparison with other developed climes, part of the social security you create for the senior citizen is that you have a functional social system
Yeah.
that looks into their concerns and probably talk about their retirement benefits. These are some of the issues. How can we, you know, look into this issue holistically while creating a very conducive environment for the elderly to live?
First, we must start with the pension. The pension scheme does not favor the elderly, because most elderly people retire and some they die without even collecting their pension. Secondly, we have to look at the issue of healthcare. The doctors are not there, nurses are not there, no auxiliary nurses, and there is not easy for any elderly person who is not living in the city to come to the city just because of hospital, and therefore they are forced to remain there and die there. And also in the hospitals, we need sections that will be dedicated for elderly people. Maybe a section where you have doctors, specialized doctors, those who are specialized in areas of orthopedic, neurosurgeon, all other illness, hypertension, all this, so that when they come to the hospital, they don't need to queue like the number of people queue, and their drugs need to be subsidized, and their food. Sometimes we need a rebate, what we call rebate in other countries. Maybe if there's going to be a system whereby you hold a card, if you get to a place and you're an elderly person, if something is being sold for 10 naira, they could sell it for 7 naira for you, so that you have a little respite. And a lot of places, they are not elderly friendly. We don't have lifts because we don't have electricity, because you go to a place, you find that it's the 4th floor or the 6th floor, and the elderly person cannot climb, and the lift is not there. So it's either you do escalator or you get a lift, or else it's not meant for the elderly person. Even in hospitals, some people go and they cannot go up and they just remain down. And the wheelchairs, There are supposed to be wheelchairs everywhere, even in the shopping malls. You should have wheelchair where you have somebody who has come and he cannot go round by himself without help. If he doesn't have any, he can just be in the wheelchair and do what he has to do and leave the wheelchair there while he's going. So we have so many things that we can do for elderly people, and for elderly people and disabled people are almost in the same class. You can be strong, but because maybe some parts of your body cannot work properly, you now fall under the disabled people. And the elderly person is the same, because when you are aging, the knees, the hips, everywhere is, then you now become like. So we need places they can go and be looked at and be helped without much ado. And even the roads, you tell an elderly person you need to walk every morning, maybe just to keep fit, but the places are not there because the walkways are not there, and security finally, because the security is key. Where there's no security, we don't advise any elderly person to go out and do so.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Hawa Umar Jibrin. I know you have so much to always talk about the elderly persons, but this much time would permit us to take on the program tonight. Thank you for coming on the program to share your insights with us on issues.
It's my pleasure.
Well, there are a number of issues which my guest has been able to talk about. I think it's time for all of us to act towards ensuring that the environment and society is always conducive and favorable to senior citizens, because we all have senior citizens as our elders, and one day, with prayers of longevity, we'll get there. Join us same time, same station on Issues again. I remain Abdullah Hajia. Bye for now.
Welcome to the epitome of luxury. At Capital Club and Apartments, you will discover a world where sophistication